the same. The kohen is returning and the kohen is coming is the same thing. But the word is different. And now you're ready to say that you don't have a gzeir shava because it has a pronominal suffix at the end. So we have another chatas, where if someone hears which chatas is this? Is this where he doesn't say testimony? Yeah. The chatas that if someone is administered an oath that he knows that he doesn't know testimony, and he denies knowing testimony, and it was really a lie. He does know, so he has to bring a korban chatas. That chatas, when it talks about a sin, it uses the term his sin, avaynai. Follow the problem. Asham says avaynai, and the chatas. This chatas says avaynai. So even if you think that avaynai is different than avayn, but I have another chatas where it says avaynai. Ella, rather, kigmir gzeir shava l'maisin nedavahu the gamri. Rather, we're not going to use the korban chatas. We're not going to use the gzeir shava to teach me anything about with the wrong intention. We're only going to use it for one purpose, to teach me about what's done with the leftover money. How can you do that? You just dropped half of the limud here. If you're going to say that you can't have a gzeir shava for half things, if you make a gzeir shava, then you have to learn all the rules of a chatas. All the rules are going to be applicable to what we're learning it to, which would mean even the wrong intention. You can't just say, you're just going to use the gzeir shava to teach me what to do with the extra money. It says, Gali Rachman Gabi Chatas. The Torah says by a chatas, v'shachat oisa lechatas. You slaughter it for a chatas, or her. Oisa lishma kshera. Her needs to be lechatas, needs to be for the right intention. Shlei lishma is psula, but if you bring it for the wrong intention, it's not valid. So I have a word by chatas that tells me that it's invalid, and it tells me that only the chatas is invalid. Aval kol kodshim bein lishman bein shlei lishman is ksherin, but all other sacrifices, whether they're for the right intention or whether they're for the wrong intention, they're still going to be valid. Okay, so what are we left with? Exactly where we started. How do we know that a minchas of a saita is going to be valid? You thought you were going to use a gzeir shava. You said if you're going to use a gzeir shava, it's going to also include an asham. So we dropped the gzeir shava for that. And what are we left with? Where we started. Ela minchas saita minchas knais tepsuln shleshman minalan. Chatas time amai. So we say, how do we know that it's going to be possible if it's for the wrong intention by those two menachos? What's the reason for a chatas? Mishum deksiv bahi. A chatas is pasal shlei lishma because it says by a chatas he. We said oisa, but it also says it is a chatas. So achinam yaksiv bahu he. So by these two korban minchas, it says it is a chatas. What does it actually say? Says the pasuk is chatas he. In minchas knais it says minchas knais he. It uses that term. It is. That tells me that it needs to be done for the right intention by these two korban minchas. Obviously, the Gemara is going to say. It says asham nami yaksiv behu. It has that term also by an asham. And an asham is valid if it's for the wrong intention. The Gemara says, "Ha-hu-hu," that pasuk of who, la'achar aktar se muram hu diksiv. That's after the korban was brought. What does it say? The pasuk is v'hiktir oisa makayim mizbechish shel Hashem. The kohen will burn it on the fire. Asham hu, it is an asham. That's after the sprinkling of the blood. That's after all the services. It is an asham. Kedetanya, as was taught in the Brisa, aval asham leinemar bohu el lachar aktar seimurim. Am I supposed to take out that Kedetanya? It doesn't look right. No, it's there. Asham, the term hu is used after the sacrifice is already burnt. Hu atzmei shlei hukter emur of his kosher. The asham, even if you stop it right there by the burning of the sacrifice, even if you don't burn it, you don't burn the limbs, it's still going to be valid. Why? Because you already did the sprinkling of the blood. So we can't say that the wrong intention there is going to invalidate a sacrifice, because you're already up to a point in the sacrifice where the service doesn't matter whether you do it or not. Whether you put the organs on the altar or not, it's still valid. So when the term hu is used, it can't be invalidating the sacrifice with the wrong intentions there. So then why does it say it? It says l'kedur Rav Huna Amarav. For what we learned before, we learned this before in Masechet Zvachim. Asham shnitik l'riyah. Let's say there was an asham that was separated to get to pasture. That means it would get a mum, and then it would be sold, and then you would use the money for a different sacrifice. However, instead of waiting for it to get a mum, someone went along and slaughtered it. V'shachti stam. It's kosher l'shum ayla. It's valid as an ayla sacrifice. Even though he didn't have intention for an ayla, it's still valid. And the Gemara learns niteki and lai nitek lai. When would this work? This is only if you separated it for pasture. If you didn't separate it for pasture, then it would not be valid, because it's still considered an asham. Once you separate it, then it loses its status of an asham, because the extra money is going to go towards a different sacrifice, aylas tzibur. So we learn from the pasuk hu that amar kra hu b'haviyasi yehi. Until it's separated for pasture, it's considered an asham. Okay, so we basically now we're learning from the pasuk where it says chatas hi or minchas knais hi, that it needs to be brought for the right intention, and a chatas also has the word hi in it, chatas hi. In the pasuk it says hi, and therefore a chatas is invalid with the wrong intention. These two carbon minchas are invalid, and an asham is yes valid. I over there it says hu, it is the masculine form of he. The reason why that's not invalid if it's for the wrong intention is because it uses the word hu after the sacrifice is already brought. In describing the process of the sacrifice, it says at the end of the process it says asham hu. It doesn't say it at the beginning of the sacrifice, it says it at the end. And at that point in the sacrifice, even if you don't do it, the sacrifice is valid, so definitely the wrong intention is not going to invalidate it. Amarav, new Gemara. Minchas Eimer shecomes to Shleila Shema Psula. The Eimer offering, which is brought on the second day of Pesach. If the Kmitza is done for the wrong intention, it's puzzle. Wow, we didn't have this in our Mishnah. Why? Because the Eimer is coming to do a certain purpose. What does the Eimer do? It allows you to eat the new grain. Now, when we bring sacrifices, and we said that they're valid, even if the intention is wrong, we say the sacrifice is valid, but you need to bring another one because you didn't fulfill the obligation. Even though it's valid, what does valid mean? That it gets the section of it gets burnt on the altar, and the rest gets eaten. So here we're saying that not only do you need to bring another one, but it's not valid either. Why not? We said because it came for a certain purpose, to allow you to eat the new grain. And it didn't allow you to eat the new grain, so therefore it's totally not valid. The same thing will be with the Asham Nazir. Asham Nazir is a Nazir that becomes Tameh. A Nazir is not allowed to drink wine, and he's not allowed to become Tameh. If he does become Tameh, he's got to start over. So, in order for him to start over, he has to bring a sacrifice. He has to bring an Asham. So, the Asham there is made to allow him to restart his Naziris. So it's brought for a certain purpose. And the same as Asham Mitzayra. Asham Mitzayra is brought to allow him to come back into the camp. A Mitzayra, a leper, is not allowed to be in the camp. He brings the Asham to allow him to come back. If these sacrifice Shachten Shleil Shman is Psulin, it's invalid. even though we didn't mention this in the Mishnah, but it's invalid. It came for a certain purpose, and that purpose is not functioning. So therefore, it's not a valid sacrifice. Tanan, the Gemara has a question. It's our Mishnah. All menachos that the kmitz is done for the wrong intention, it's still valid. The only thing is the owner needs to bring another one, but the mincha is valid with the exception of two menachos, the sin offering and the saita offering. And if you're going to accept the statement of Rav that the Omer offering is invalid, why does it only have two exceptions? You should throw in the exception of Rav as well. There should be three exceptions. The Minchas Omer is not valid. The Gemara answers, Kiktani, what is our Mishnah talking about? Ba Yachid. It's talking about individual sacrifice, Ba Tzibur, like Tani. Community sacrifice it wasn't talking about. Kiktani Ba Beglal Atzma, Ba Beglal Zevach, like Tani. It's only talking about sacrifices that are brought without, meal offerings that are brought without a sacrifice. But here, the Omer is brought together with the sacrifice. It says, you bring the sheep, there's a lamb that comes along with it. It's also not talking about, the Mishnah is not talking about sacrifices that have a designated time. The Omer has a designated time. What is the designated time? The 16th of Nisan. Okay. Amar Mar. The master said, V'chinat ha'omer b'Hashem Nazir v'Hashem Mitzayra. Hashem Nazir and Hashem Mitzayra, the two sacrifices that are brought to allow the person to recount his Naziris or to return into the camp. Sheshachtan Shlei Lishman, that they were slaughtered for the wrong intention. Psulim, they're invalid. Because they came to allow him to permit him to do something, and they're not permitting him to do it, so therefore we invalidate the whole sacrifice. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, the first Mishnah in Zvachim, all sacrifices that are brought for the wrong intention are valid, but the owner did not fulfill his obligation. He's got to bring another one. Except for the Karban Pesach and the Karban Chatas. Those are the two that are invalid for the wrong intention. V'misen, if you're going to accept this opinion, this statement, that an Asham Mitzayra and Asham Nazir are not valid for the wrong intention. Why do you just say two? You should have four. Listening nami chutz mi Asham Nazir v'Asham Mitzayra. The Mishnah should have said Asham Nazir and Asham Mitzayra are not valid. Okay, you skipped the Balach of the Kivan dik Asham g'zel Asham milas del chapara asu like psikalei. The Gemara answers, not all Asham are invalid if they're brought for the wrong intention. We have two that are yes valid. They're brought for sins. If someone stole and swore about it, he has to bring an asham. If someone had benefit from something that was sanctified to the temple, personal benefit, he has to bring an asham, and those are valid. So the Mishnah likes to say rules. But if it's going to give me a rule, and it's going to say asham are some of them yes, some of them no, then it would rather just leave it out. It wants to give me things that are very clear, that are cut and dry. You don't have to start messing around with this one yes, this one no. So the Mishnah said, a chatos and a pesach. If it was going to list an asham, it would have to tell me, but that's only by this asham, but not by that asham, because there's different types. And it didn't want to do that, so that's why it didn't say. So the Gemara says, why is there actually a difference? If there's different types of hashamas, some are valid with the wrong intention, some are not valid, what is the real difference? So we're trying to explain that the difference is that some of them are coming to permit him to do something. For example, the Asham Nazir is coming to permit him to recalculate his Nazirs, to start over and start counting again at the 30 days or whatever, however long of a Nazir he decided. It's coming to allow the Mitzayra to come back into the camp because he was sent outside the camp. It's coming to permit. The other Asham is coming to atone. So we said like this. If it's coming to permit him to do something, but it didn't work. Why? Because he has to bring another one. So then we say that the same way it didn't work, the whole sacrifice is invalid. If it didn't accomplish what it was meant to accomplish, then it's invalid. However, by atonement sacrifices, we say that even though it didn't accomplish an atonement, but nevertheless it's still valid, you just have to bring another one for the atonement. We're asking why? What's the difference? If this one's coming to tell me to permit him and it doesn't accomplish it, so we say that the sacrifice is invalid because it didn't permit him to do whatever he's supposed to do next. It's invalid, so the one's for atonement as well. It didn't atone, it should be invalid. Why are you making a difference between a sacrifice that's coming to allow him to do something and sacrifices that are there for atonement? If they don't accomplish what they're meant to, they should be invalid. Okay, let's stop over here. We'll leave with a question. Left off at a question.